Stormont-Dundas-South, Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, millions of Canadians are at risk of being cut off their benefits this July because they haven't been able to get their taxes done by going out. They're not able to do their own taxes at home and they rely on tax preparers. We're talking about seniors, parents, those with disabilities, and on a fixed income. We need compassion during these challenging times. Let me ask a question this way to the minister responsible. If the government can take 2 years to prepare a budget, why can't Canadians get an extra 2 months to file their taxes when they're being told they must stay at home?
The Honourable Minister.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Notre gouvernement...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government understands that tax time is stressful at the best of times. We're going to continue to be there for them at every stage of the process. In February, we said that persons receiving emergency benefits will receive tax credits. And the government has also made it easier for taxpayers, and they will not have to pay penalties on interest if they cannot make those payments for reasons outside of their control. The government is always going to be there for Canadians who need their government during tax time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to follow up on the upcoming tax deadline and my continued concern that there are millions of Canadians who are vulnerable to losing their benefits being renewed this July because they haven't been able to get their taxes done. The government says we can't do it, but let's take a look at last year. We were in a pandemic, we were under lockdown, and people were asked to stay at home. The government said we'll move the tax deadline to September and make sure there's a smooth transition to benefits. Fast forward to this year, we're in a pandemic, we're in lockdowns because we don't have enough vaccines, and we're being asked to stay at home. And the government says we're not going to move the deadline. The reason this matters is there are thousands of people who can't complete their taxes at home. They don't have computers, they don't have the capabilities of doing that. We see that. We had thousands of constituents in my office this past year had to cancel this month because they were asked to stay at home and not get their taxes completed. We need to help vulnerable people. We need to make sure there's a smooth transition. The government should be compassionate and reasonable, extend the deadline 2 months to help millions of Canadians out. Thank you.
Honourable Member.
Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Mr. Speaker, today is tax filing deadline, a day dreaded by millions of Canadians. Despite the third wave of a pandemic, nearly 1 million taxpayers locked out of the CRA online portal, record wait times to contact CRA, and calls from millions of Canadians, tax professionals, and even opposition parties. This government has stubbornly refused to extend the tax filing deadline. Will this government, who took 2 years to file a budget of their own, give Canadians a much-needed break and extend the tax filing deadline?
The Honourable Minister.
Stands that this tax season is stressful for Canadians, and we will continue to be there for them every step of the way. An update to the Canada.ca website temporarily disabled the website web links necessary to access CRA portals. Let me be clear, at no point was CRA IT infrastructure seriously compromised, and the glitch was very brief. The situation is now resolved, and Canadians can access to those services is restored.
The Honourable Member for Stormont-Dundas-South, Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, the government's response to our ask to extend the tax deadline is absolutely tone deaf. We're not talking about a glitch on a website. We're talking about millions of Canadians that are being told to stay at home. They can't complete their taxes by the deadline. They're going to miss out on benefits. There's going to be gaps and continued chaos. They call CRA. They're on the phone for 4 hours. They ask for things to get mailed to them. They're not even here yet, and the deadline is here. Mr. Speaker, our ask is very clear. Why won't the government show some compassion and common sense and extend the tax deadline to June 30th to give people the relief that they deserve and need?
Honourable Minister or Parliament Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, our government understands that this tax season is stressful for Canadians, and we will continue to be there for them every step of the way. In February, we announced the recipients of emergency and recovery benefits would be eligible for interest relief if they file their 2020 income tax returns. The CRA also has strong taxpayer relief provisions in place where taxpayers can be relieved of penalties and interest if these are incurred for reasons beyond their control. These measures will ensure that Canadians who need help this tax season will receive it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.